Nobody would have stood up and said no.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the last time we had a chamber event over there, it was real nice.
Okay, we're recording now, so we'll go ahead and call our meeting to order. It's 4:05 for the workshop of the decorum, the charter review, and the YMCA. And so go ahead, call the roll, please, Val.
Commissioner Snow,
Here.
Commissioner Curry,
Here.
Commissioner Delanoy,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson, Mayor Penny.
Here. And I believe Commissioner Johnson's having the medical procedure.
Oh,
This-
okay.
Be excused from the work.
This morning, but anyhow, I just want to let you know where he is. So I think
Is he
it was
okay?
supposed to be this morning, but I think it got delayed, so I've texted him and called him, but I think he still might be recovering, so I'll
Okay.
be back there. So we'll go ahead and discuss the decorum policy. As you know, there was some discussion about who sets the rules, and in the past, we've done it with kind of loosey-goosey, Robert's Rule of Order, that the chairman is in charge. And so we thought that it might be beneficial to go ahead and adopt some formal policies and procedures. So Joe pulled some things together. Do you guys all have your hard copy
Yes.
that he prepared for you?
I do.
JD, you got yours?
No,
No? We have extra, Val?
I need one.
The rules for the workshop are that the workshop is a discussion time for the commission to discuss with staff and each other about things that may come back to a public meeting. But workshops are not typically, we don't engage in audience participation or public participation because of the sunshine laws. The only times we can discuss as a body are in the public. So this is the first time that we'll be discussing this together. When we come up with some consensus, we'll give direction back to the city manager. He'll then prepare necessary paperwork to bring it back to a city commission meeting, and then there'll be time for audience participation at that time. So Joe, you want to go ahead and kick it off? Or did everyone have a chance to go over this?
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of good information, and there's pages that will, in my opinion, will delete.
Yeah.
But we'll let Joe go ahead and start us off.
So I looked at a couple of different policies that other cities had. This one is from Port Orange, and it had a lot more detail than, for example, the one I looked at from New Smyrna Beach. So we took the entire Port Orange document and converted it to Holly Hill, and I know that in a couple spots it still says Port Orange, and we'll get that cleaned up. So for the most part, it mirrors what the Port Orange policy says. And I highlighted a couple of things, and I apologize for confusing some people. The area that I wanted to highlight, that I highlighted, is actually areas that I want to delete out of the policy because some of it doesn't apply to the city of Holly Hill, and some of it is just not how we typically operate.
Yes, I'm the reason you got that last
You're not the
email
only
about
one.
clarifying.
So actually,
You don't have,
this isn't even highlighted.
well, would you like mine?
Would you like
I might
mine?
take yours.
Well,
Yes,
if you pull
that's
up,
fine.
you pull the agenda on your cell phone,
I
it
have
doesn't
yours.
show the highlighted.
Val's making copies.
Good, thanks.
All right, so if we turn initially to page 2, we need a,
Nate is going to bring
yeah,
it
because
to me.
JD needs one.
Yeah, Nate.
On page 2, number 5. Does he need help?
Oh,
Just while you guys are here.
Nate's going to bring us.
Okay, need 3 copies.
I got 4 from him.
On page 2, number 5, it talks about special meetings being called at the request of the mayor or any 2 commissioners. And we don't typically do that here. Usually, only the mayor calls a special meeting. And that's usually with the assistance or advice of the city manager. For example, we call a special meeting if we have a hurricane coming, or if we have an agenda item that we had a gap in meetings like we did the last time, and we asked for a special meeting to talk about an item that comes up on the agenda. So what they have in here is that 2 commissioners could call a special meeting, and I don't think that's a good practice because in
Well,
order.
no, because that implies that we're busting the sunshine law up.
Potentially. You can call for special meeting at a meeting,
Right.
but usually when we call for special
Yeah.
meeting, it's not at a.
I don't think that in there is very good because to me, it would give the impression that two commissioners are allowed to speak to one another, and that is not the case.
Okay, so that'll come out.
Can anyone else make comments?
No, sir.
We're not
No,
allowed to
sir.
say anything?
No, sir.
You think?
If you continue to interrupt the meeting, I'm going to ask you to leave.
If it doesn't hit me.
Yes, sir.
JD.
Is this a highlighted version?
Yes.
I did that.
Can I get a copy?
And can I take this one?
Thank
It's
you.
got my notes.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
JD, anyone?
I do.
Okay. So next is paragraph 8. And this says that if the commission or any of its members wish to place an item on the agenda at any such request or inquiry shall be directed to the city manager's office for disposition, as opposed to any city commission member contacting the city officer or employee who is the subject of the direction and supervision of the city manager. We don't often have commissioners that put things on the agenda. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but if we do that, typically in the past, it gets brought up at a commission meeting. And at that time, a commissioner will say, I would like to put this item on an upcoming agenda or on a workshop, and then the commission, through consensus, says, all right, I don't have a problem putting that on. But what I don't want to do is have a commissioner, and again, these comments are not directed at any commissioner sitting here now. It may have been a commissioner in the past, or maybe a commissioner in the future. But I don't want to have a commissioner hijacking the agenda by insisting that I put something on an agenda that I don't think is appropriate or in the good order of the city. If you want to do that, it should come up at a commission meeting. The commission will have consensus as to whether or not to put that on. Does anybody?
I agree.
I agree.
I do.
I agree too.
Did I tell you Vargas slapped me today?
He did?
Yes, I filed a police report.
Okay, good for you.
I'm making you aware.
Yes.
He stresses the lead shot. He's starting to lose it, this guy.
The dangers of being a city manager, apparently.
And there shouldn't be danger.
No, there shouldn't be danger. People get violent with you, that's it's the nature of today.
On page 3, letter C, I'm just going to rearrange that. This is a typical format of an agenda. This is Port Orange's format, but I'll just insert what our format is for our agenda. And I'm going to assume that everybody likes the way our agenda is. We have a consent agenda. And if anybody doesn't want something on the agenda, we can pull it for discussion, and then we do regular items and then public hearings.
Yes, I think our agenda format works great.
The way this document reads is that on all ordinances and resolutions, it's done by a roll call vote. And we don't typically do roll call votes. We do general voting unless commissioner requests a roll call vote and then the mayor grants that request. So I could word it that way, that we'll do general, unless you want to do a roll call vote.
No, I think the roll call vote allowed in the past people to play politics.
Yes.
Where you could be in favor of something passing, maybe people in the audience that weren't in favor of it passing. And you, especially for the mayor, it's a roll call, the mayor's the last one to vote. So the mayor can take the chicken way out and vote against something that he really wanted in his heart, but the public didn't want it, so he voted against it. So that was something that I implemented, so that all in favor signify by saying aye. That way there's no surprises, no holdout.
Well, and really, John, it's almost like you can hear us
Right.
saying yes or no.
Right.
So it's not like we're in hiding over our vote.
No, but it's,
No, the roll call vote gives the last person to vote the opportunity to vote in opposition and
Many
look
times the last-
favorable to the commission.
Yes.
right, many times the mayor's vote, if you call the roll call vote, doesn't count. The mayor would be technically just a tiebreaker.
Right.
And so there's been times in the past where I witnessed it, that the mayor took the chicken way out and didn't vote in favor of a tough vote because it wasn't popular, voted against it knowing it had already passed, then
Right.
they can make the claim, I never voted for that, you know, it was those other people.
And when we're made to all vote it verbally, you don't have that.
Right, and in the past, there have been requests from the commission, something might be very controversial, and you might want a roll call vote at that time.
We have done that
We
a
have done
couple
it.
of times.
Right, and the next paragraph talks about reconsideration of the vote, which is typical of Robert's
Robert's
rules.
rules.
Yes. Or we're just going over the highlighted stuff, right?
Yeah, unless you have.
Unless you got something
No,
that
I
jumped out
had
at you.
nothing else but the highlighted stuff.
Till we get to page eight.
Yes,
This
on-
is quite a read.
What's that?
It was quite a read.
Yeah.
Oh, wait till you get the audit.
Quite a read.
Oh my God, yes, for next week.
Yeah, so, you know, I had read all of this, I made some changes to it, Val typed it out for me. So everything else that's in here, I think is either something that we do or should be doing, so it's really not anything that's out of the ordinary.
And I didn't have a problem with anything, just for the record, outside of the highlighted areas that I need to discuss.
So on page 5, number 2, meeting decorum and conduct, I think this is what I believe you intended, but if you haven't had a chance to look at it, you might want to just skim through it real quick. You know, specifically that is individuals may only make comments from the podium with such other reasonable accommodations after being recognized by the presiding officer. That presiding officer being the mayor or the vice mayor, whoever's in charge of the meeting at that time. It also talks about the commission's decorum in that commissioners need to wait to be recognized by the presiding officer before they speak. And we're mostly pretty good at that, this commission.
Sometimes things get a little passionate.
Sometimes. So we really should wait for the mayor to recognize a commissioner to speak before they speak, and then you have the floor hopefully in silence, and everybody is listening to you and reserving their comments for when they are then called upon. Again, everything is presented or addressed to the mayor, to the presiding officer. And then item D, if you want to keep this, it says repetitive, redundant, or immaterial presentations or requests may be limited and shall not resume unless authorized by a majority vote of the city commission. So we've had that experience in here where, you know, some people will be overly repetitive or not on subject. And you can stop that unless the majority of the commission wants to allow that discussion to go on.
I think we're getting really close to censoring. We're limiting people to 3 minutes to talk, and we very rarely ever had.
Yeah.
Well, remember, there's two different categories. One is public comment, where somebody can come up and say
Right.
anything they want about anything. The
Right.
other is items specific to the subject at hand. And somebody shouldn't come up, if we're talking about a water issue, shouldn't come up and talk about something that's not a water issue, because they didn't get enough time during their public participation to say what they wanted to say.
Right, no, I was reading this as if there were 17 people on one side and they just kept repeating the same thing over and over.
No, I think it's the same person.
Can we clean that up a little bit to,
Because I didn't interpret this as one person, I interpreted this as multiple people coming up to discuss the same issue with the same opinion.
if we could just clean that up a little bit to express
Okay.
that, because that's really what we do now.
Right.
Right,
Yeah, everybody has the right to speak, even if they are
Page
repeating.
5.
so if I read it the way you're interpreting it, it'd be almost as if someone wanted to talk about a water issue and just came up and quoted Bible scriptures.
Could be an example.
Okay.
What I'm recommending that we take out from the Port Orange document is that they only allow 20 minutes for public comment.
Agreed,
Agree to take it out?
to take it out.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. sometimes they can go on a little bit longer.
Are we changing that to 3 or we just taking?
No, this is not individual times, this is a
Oh.
total time period.
Okay.
You had taken it out, but I put it back in, so
Oh,
that,
okay.
that whole.
That's the way I read it at first, and I'm like, what?
No, that's like saying we're gonna allow from 6 to 6:20 for public comment,
yeah,
and
no.
everybody has 3 minutes. But in the document, it says that 3 minutes is the amount of time. Now, years ago, we used to have people fill out comment cards.
Yeah, those
The
did
county
not
still does
work.
comment cards. This requires people to fill out a comment card prior to the meeting.
I don't think
And-
those work
I think
very
it's
well.
very restrictive. If someone comes in late,
Yeah.
So we'll go ahead and remove that.
and then 3A3 also, you're gonna, the whole thing needs to get struck. Well, it's the top. It says the providing officer shall divide the allotted time equally amongst those who have signed up. That's not gonna be
Yeah,
appropriate.
that would come out to you.
But the next sentence is appropriate.
While we're on the topic of time, should we place something in here indicating that you're not allowed, I mean, I know we do that, but you're not allowed to pass your time unused to another person?
I think,
There is a section in here that says that a person can represent a group, like an HOA president can represent the HOA, but it doesn't give them any additional time.
Okay, I just didn't know if we needed to have that in here.
well, it says each individual shall be afforded no more than 3 minutes. So I think lack of making that statement, you can pass it on. If it doesn't say you can pass it on, you can't pass it on.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that we're covering everything.
You know, and this doesn't have to be the end-all be-all document tonight. Things may come up that we, before it comes back to us
Right,
for a commission meeting, things may come up and, oh, I forgot about that. So
okay.
it's a fluid document.
Public participation on the agenda, it says that the commission shall reserve a section of the agenda dedicated to hearing public participation items requiring more than 3 minutes. I don't mind having that in there because somebody may come up with a subject that you may not be aware of, and you want to provide them, maybe at the end of the meeting, an opportunity to expand more upon an item that's not going to take up everyone's time.
Shameful
I
shame.
bet it's Roy.
That's right.
Oh.
So I think leaving that in would be good because it gives you an opportunity. For example, a couple weeks ago, you had Polly that came up from the Historic Society, and you held her to 3 minutes, even though she probably could have been given more because she was an invited guest to do a presentation. But that's something where you could say, all right, you know, you weren't able to finish, we asked you to come here, we don't want you to take up a lot of public participation time. We could either extend your time now or hold time at the end of the meeting for you to finish your presentation. Again, we don't, item 2, I'm recommending that we strike because we don't typically allow members of the public to submit items for discussion to the clerk to be placed on the agenda.
Correct.
So then that takes out 3 too.
It takes up 2 and, yes.
And 4.
Right.
Takes out all the rest of that, right? That whole section.
No, 5 can actually stay if you want to be really formal about it. That's when you have a presentation, they come up, they do the presentation, there's questions of the requester by the commission. Staff would then come up and provide a presentation. This is not every time.
Right.
This is as necessary.
But
I will.
we don't have people that come up for public participation that,
Again, I go back to Polly.
Okay.
I asked Polly, and maybe we should change that from
Should be a presentation.
public participation to presentation to the commission.
yeah, that might be better
Okay.
too.
I'll get something in there. All right. C, public hearings, regular and consent items. What I wanted to discuss is item 2. Members of the public who wish to be heard on a particular item listed on the agenda may choose to complete a public participation turn in completed form. We're not going to do that. You typically, Mayor, you'll have people raise their hand or be recognized from the audience, and then they'll get called up for their 3 minutes.
So are we gonna,
We'll take that number 2 out.
okay.
So the next item, petitions can be presented to the city commission during public participation or hand delivered to the clerk. If the petition is presented at a meeting, the presenter shall present the petition to the presiding officer. They still have 3 minutes to speak. That's part of the Constitution. That's the right to redress government, so that should stay in there. Somebody can come to the commission meeting
Yes.
and submit a petition, have their 3 minutes to speak, and then that's part of constitutional right. This whole next section, we can probably delete or reword. This goes into a big, long dissertation on how we would do invocations and who can do them, and keeping a list and maintaining that list, having a registry. And I think if you...
Sorry, I just, what we've done for several years now, I think works really well. And I think you might have started that back when you were mayor before, but we have each commissioner responsible at a certain month for invocations for that month's meeting. You can do it yourself or have someone come in to do it for you.
So I'll write it so that each commissioner and the mayor will have a month to do the invocation or invite someone to do an invocation. And if any member of the public wishes to do an invocation, they can contact the clerk to be asked to be put on that list, and the clerk will contact
Whatever
the
commissioner's
commission
time.
and see if they want to allot that time to someone else to do an invocation. You know, keeping in mind that invocations are not always religious in nature. They're not always Christian, they're not always Jewish, they're not always, it could be anything. Any religion or any type of invocation is allowed during that time
Even if you
period.
want to do a moment of silence for the
You
invocation.
can do a moment of silence, but you can't restrict anyone's right to come up and do an invocation, so as long as everybody understands that.
Yeah, so we can delete the whole next 3.5 pages.
Correct. Up to 11.
Half of
Up to
it.
All
11.
this is
Yeah,
crazy.
up to get the city boards.
You're, you're number 11
Yeah.
is where you're
Yeah.
at.
So I was actually talking to Commissioner Snow this afternoon with regard to how we make appointments to boards. Right now, we have interested parties fill out an application, and we do that because in the past, we sometimes would have multiple people, and we wanted an application so that we could evaluate who they are and what their history is and why they want to serve on the board, and it would be handed out to the commission, and then they would make a selection from those people that applied. More so recently, we don't have very many people. In fact, we go seeking someone to serve on a board, and then they're brought up in front of the commission and they're voted on. So, and then when it's one person, we still make them fill out an application, which I don't know if it's necessarily required. In Seminole County, they used to make nominations from the floor, and there's no application. And the only thing you have for a record is a nomination and a motion on the floor.
I happen to like the application.
Okay.
I don't know how everybody else feels, but
Well, it gives you an opportunity to see the name before the meeting and check them out. Look at them, do a little betting on your own.
yeah, that's why I like it.
All right, we'll keep the application process in there. All right, And then all documents are submitted to the clerk. That's typical of public records. With proclamations and ceremonial guidelines, we decided when Chris was the mayor, that the mayor can, without approval of the commission or support of the commission, sign any proclamation. So if somebody says, I want a proclamation because it's my business's 50-year anniversary, he can go ahead and valid generate a proclamation and the mayor can sign it. What they have in here is a list of, I guess we'll call them some of the most popular proclamations that have been set forth that go before the commission. So I don't know if you want us to continue, to start adding these to the agenda, or if you want to do it the way that we've been doing it and just let the mayor issue a proclamation.
I think the way we've been doing it works great. There have been a couple of times, I think, in the past that one may have come to us where, the mayor has said something about it. but-
National Water Month,
Yeah.
Water Safety Month, or something like that.
But for other proclamations, it's not an official act, if you will. It's just a ceremonial type thing, so.
And we can bring one of these to your attention. Okay. Or not necessarily one of these, but
One
No,
that
you're-
you,
Your neighbor, for example, your neighbor might be turning 100 years old. Say, hey,
there you go.
she's having a birthday party. Can we do a proclamation? Sure.
I requested one from my father-in-law and mother-in-law who were married 70 years. Yeah, 70 years. Because he used to be the mayor here, he was a commissioner here.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was kind of fitting.
Sure.
This is where they started out their early life, so.
Yeah.
So we do stuff like that.
Okay. And I don't need to describe the paper that it's on and the background that it's on.
No.
Did we ever get the watermark of the city hall for the proclamation?
Yeah, we were working on the monument, no, I'm gonna,
We're going to tweak our proclamations to have the monument, the front of City Hall with the monument, City Hall in the background.
That'd be
has
nice.
another
Just
watermark.
take a picture of it,
Yeah.
digitize it.
Yeah, somehow they,
we got kind of catch
Screen
it
it.
just right with the light. and stuff.
That'd be nice.
all right, so I'll go ahead and tweak this the proclamation portion of it again. So that's really it as far as this decorum policy is concerned. So if you've had a chance to look through it, if you have any questions or it's something you want to add or delete,
It's really not too different from what we've been doing. I mean, there's not really any.
It just formalizes.
Yeah. And it is good to have that. Don't get me wrong, I'm just saying we really
Right.
didn't make any changes. It's really what we've been practicing all along.
Do we go over this every year in January, or is this just something you do?
we've never
every-
done this before.
Oh,
So this is the first time we're doing it because there's been some question about the mayor reducing public comment from 5 minutes to 3 minutes, which we've taken the position of the mayor has the right to do that. A couple of other things with how the mayor would handle a disruptive audience member. And instead of putting all of the responsibilities on the mayor to just say it's his opinion, if it's in a policy and the policy is supported by the commissioners, then it's the policy that makes that decision.
Yeah.
So the mayor would say, in accordance with our, I don't know if you want to call this a decorum policy, it just says local rule of procedure. He'll quote this and say, according to this policy, I'm going to ask you to, whatever the issue is.
so what about when we have a problem person and it gets to be an issue?
It's
I mean,
in here,
where is
Jeff.
that stating in there? Where
in-
was
It's in here,
that?
let me find it.
I thought I seen it.
Yeah, it's in here.
Thought
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
But here we go.
One seven,
Yeah, it says disruption, let me find it.
On page 5, I think. 5.
and then the public participation, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, letter G.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlawful
yeah.
individual.
Anyone who causes such a disturbance or interruption after a warning has been given by the presiding officer shall be removed from the meeting and may not return during the same meeting.
So is that just one?
Just one more.
It's just that,
That person.
that meeting.
No,
That means-
I mean, but just one morning?
That's what it says.
So then do we have anything that we can stand on that with? So we can make it one morning? and then
If we pass this. I think there has to be some.
I just don't want it to be left up to you.
Right, right.
Because you got a big heart and a good heart.
Well, and here's
it
how,
seems to be, over and over on some sort of.
here's how you check with the mayor, Jeff. Is that, let's say I'm running a meeting and an individual, let's say it's my dad. My dad pipes up. Go Gators, he yells from the crowd, because he would yell that.
And then I'm gonna pipe him
And
down.
then I would hit the gavel and say, sir, please stop interrupting our meeting. If you do it again, I'm gonna ask you to leave. And he does it again, and I gavel him down again. And he does it again, and I gavel him, and I don't do anything. You can say, point of order, Mr. Mayor, according to our rule, blah, 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 section 2, paragraph G, you gotta ask him to leave.
Okay.
And if someone else, another commissioner supports you on that, then we take a vote on that point of order.
So it goes to a motion?
Goes to a motion, the majority of the commission supports your motion for me to follow my own rules.
But now don't get lost in that. He has the ability to, after the first warning, to have the person leave.
Right.
That's only if he's not doing his job
Right.
of following.
If it goes forward, and honestly, I would, to be the truth, I probably would violate this. If someone said something once, the second time they'd say it, I said, listen, I warned you and I'm serious. If you do it again, I'm gonna ask the
And
chief to
you-
remove
you
it.
will.
Let's not violate the policy. Let's put in there that they'll be given up to 2 warnings.
Okay, I'd say 2 warnings. I think 2 warnings is reasonable because I
Yeah.
can't keep my mouth shut sometimes.
No, I can't.
Yeah, then we say up to 2 warnings, then they'll be
Hey, at
absent.
least I admitted it.
No, I mean, one warning, the second warning, I'm serious. I mean, you don't really.
Hey, you don't need a third warning, man. Baseball might have 3 straight.
Let's ask your granddaughter, how many warnings did you give her?
Oh, a lot. She's a good girl.
Okay, so if anything comes up between now and when Joe and Val are tweaking this, like I said, something comes up, we can change it when it comes to the meeting, or we can change it before something comes up. Joe can discuss it with us individually. But I think it's a good thing.
Well, I'll make some final tweaks and I'll send it out to everyone again, and hopefully we get a chance to review it and let me know if there's anything in there that you don't want to change. I'd rather not bring it up, because this will be a regular agenda item, I'd rather not bring it up and then have you make this an item in the meeting. That would be.
Yeah, you'd rather us get with you during
Right,
our meetings,
right,
individually with you.
Right.
Right.
Now, a member of the audience might have comments on this that night.
Right.
They'll have to
It
take
might be,
minutes.
and it might be valid, so. Roy just texted me. He's in recovery. He just woke up.
That's what I figured.
We'll tell him to have a good evening.
I did.
Tell him we miss him.
Not to worry about this place.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to the charter review. Joe?
Yes.
So the charter review requires us to review the charter every 10 years. So we did that in 2015 was the last time.
I can't believe it's been that long.
Oh, we did an update in 18, but the formal review, I think, was 15. Yeah, I spent kind of leaked out
Okay.
there.
Aw.
In 2018 is when we did the changes to the, yeah. And
Sir, we just talked about the quorum. Please don't interrupt us again.
Yes, sir.
so this is the year that we do a full charter review. And what we've done in the past is that each of the commissioners would appoint a member to the Charter Review Commission. They'd be given a copy of the charter. They take it, it's not a big read, it's not very many pages. They kind of become familiar with it, and they have an initial meeting. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think the commission appointed a chairman. I think the group.
Yeah, I think it was the group that chose their own chairperson.
So to that committee, staff is assigned. So in other words, the city attorney will be there to represent the city. I'll be there to provide information. The city clerk is there to record any notes that need to be taken. And so what they should do is first read it through, get an understanding of what it is, they should have a public meeting to allow members of the public to come in and make recommendations on any changes to the charter that the public may want to have considered. But at the end of the day, the Charter Review Committee would then make recommendations, and that recommendation would go to the City Commission, and then the City Commission would ultimately decide what, if anything, would go on a referendum. So just because the Charter Review Commission makes a recommendation, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be on a ballot. So timing-wise, and I look back to what we did, we started this in February, March, to the point where it's done in October. And Mayor, what they did the last time is we had a special election. And the special election, I think, was held in October. So we don't have to wait for a regular election to do something. You could if you wanted to, but it kind of throws your 10-year schedule off a little bit. So we can wait and see what the Charter Review Commission recommends, and then make a determination if we want to do a special election or push it off the following year to a general election. So as you know, there are some strategic reasons why you would do something on a general election versus a special election.
Well, there's costs associated with the special election.
And of course, there's costs. Yeah. So the charter is silent on how you appoint the board, which is one of the things I think the Charter Review Committee should look at, is how that committee is appointed. I would recommend that each commissioner appoint one person to that committee.
That's what we did the last time when we did that.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that.
Right, and it needs to outline in there.
And you also have to, it also doesn't say if it should be a resident or a business owner, or can it be a business owner that doesn't live in the city? So we probably want them to make a recommendation on who should be eligible to serve on the Charter Review Committee.
Do they
John-
have, look, I'm
Sorry, no,
Do they have to live in the city now?
It's silent, it doesn't say anything about it.
Doesn't.
John, didn't we, for the last one we did, do business or
Business
residents?
owners or residents.
But they had to have some vested interest in the community. It
I
wasn't.
think they were taxpayers.
Yes, okay.
But that's not true this time, because it's not in
So you
there.
haven't, what they say is they selected people who were taxpayers of the city.
Oh, okay, got it.
When it was done before that he's referring
So
to.
that could make them an absentee owner. They could
Okay,
own Joe's Body Shop and live in
Right.
Ormond, but have the shop here.
But they're a taxpayer through their business here.
okay,
Or they can live here.
right.
Um,
I actually thought it was great that it could be somebody from another city without a business here, because it would be somebody looking at it from an entirely different angle.
Well, I would disagree.
Okay.
I think, my personal opinion is they need to be taxpayers, they need to have a vested interest in our city.
Okay,
What if someone from Boise, Idaho wanted to come in and take over our city?
well,
and put
obviously,
things-
yeah,
So, and I believe a business owner should be, many business owners have more invested in our city than their residences in other cities.
okay,
So I think it's wise to do that. I just don't think any Tom, Dick, or Harry that doesn't have any tie to City Hall
right,
should be on our charter review. Stay out of my business,
right.
how I would look at it.
Yeah, and I agree with the mayor, and that's why we made it before that it had to be a taxpayer, either through business or residence, because they have a vested interest in the community at that point, either through their business ownership or their residence.
Right.
So, and if somebody from Ormond wanted to be on our charter review committee, what interest do they really have in Holly Hill?
I was thinking more about the expertise somebody might bring to it, somebody who's retired from Ormond Beach, who dealt with the city charter previously.
Well, that's why our city attorney's on that board too. Our city attorney's gonna make recommendations, because he did it last time. Maybe look for someone that's an attorney in town, that has contract law experience.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
that's why, I think, at the end of the day, we all want what's best for our community. but we just may come out about it different. You know, Jeff may know someone that just moved here 6 months ago, but lived in a little town in North Carolina, and they just were on that board 4 months ago. So if we all come together, I think we'll get this, the end solution that we're looking for.
Okay, all right.
And remember, on all of these board appointments, the commissioner is making not an appointment, but a recommendation that gets voted on by the commission.
Good.
So
Okay.
you may select someone and the rest of the commission may not support it.
Okay.
So just keep that in mind, it's not necessarily a guarantee.
Okay.
So I guess we need to go ahead and agree to some guidelines to begin this. Because does it have to come back to a commission meeting for us to then approve this?
Yeah, well, right now, we're not asking for anybody to have names. What we're doing is asking for how we want to
Right,
do
the
that.
process.
So at a future meeting, whether it's the next meeting in January or in February, and I really don't think we should go beyond that, everybody should come with a recommendation on who they'd like to see appointed.
I'm not gonna be here at the next meeting, so I can always, well, it won't do me any good to email you.
Now, but we can wait till the February meeting,
Okay.
that's fine, but I wouldn't want to delay it several months because we're gonna run out of time.
Right.
If they come up with something that, you know, you feel is important and you want to get on that election. And
How many are on this committee already, or is it empty now?
It's empty, it's only 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do 5?
Yeah, it only exists every 10 years we
Yeah, okay,
assemble
good.
this committee.
All right, I didn't know whether they were still,
No, it's only, they serve that one purpose for that one time, and that's it.
I have to ask this question. I don't understand why you keep saying an election or a special election. How does that play into this?
So when the committee gets together and they review the charter, if they see something in the charter that needs to be changed, only the public can vote on charter changes. It's not an ordinance.
Yes, it has to go before the
Yeah.
voters.
Okay,
So it's-
I didn't know.
It's like the Constitution.
It could be let's just say the charter review committee comes back and says, we recommend that City of Holly Hill paint all the sidewalks pink.
Okay,
Then that recommendation comes to the city commission. And the
okay,
city commission needs to approve or deny what goes to the charter
okay.
for an election. So let's say we don't want it to be pink.
We want it to be purple.
We're just gonna say, no, we're not putting that on the ballot. City commission's not putting that on the ballot, not letting the public vote on that.
Okay.
If we do think it should be pink,
Right.
and we have an election, whether it's a special election in
Okay.
25 or a regular election in 26,
Right.
and then the voters vote on it, and as long as 50% plus one vote,
Okay.
vote either way, the sidewalks are gonna be pink or stay the way they are.
Got it. I understand now. Thank you.
And I have to come up with a better example, because I always use something, don't I?
You did.
Pink, it's kind of an odd choice for
you
you.
don't want the sidewalks painted.
The other thing I want to just double check is whether it's a majority or a supermajority that changes it. I don't know if it's 50%.
For the state, it's a super majority, for the state, it's 60%, but I think it's 50 plus one.
I think it is 50 plus 1.
And maybe that's something that the charter review may come up with it.
And there are, you know, if you have items that you'd like the charter review committee to look at individually, you can certainly send something to them and say, you know, I want you to look at how the charter has changed. It's 50% plus 1 today. Should we consider a 60% vote in order to change the charter? So it doesn't prohibit you from providing questions to the charter review committee.
Okay, great.
Was there something that they recommended last time that there was a vote on?
They changed the term limits.
It went from 2-year terms to 4-year terms.
And the civil service.
And
Civil
also
service
in
was
the
eliminated.
4-year terms, it was to stagger 3 seats one time, 2 seats the next time. Because we were all 5 at one time, and that's not good. Because then you lose, you could possibly lose all institutional knowledge in one election. So it used to be 3 and 2, and then it was changed, and then the charter review was done, and it was voted on to change it back.
There were a
to
number
staggered
of
terms.
changes. We eliminated civil service. We put in place an appeal process for non-union employees to file a grievance for termination. There were a couple of things. that
Yeah, there were a few things on there.
And, you know, the other thing that we would do, and Scott, I'm sure would do this, is you have to be careful not to play a game of putting multiple subjects on a single ballot item. To put something on there that is very favorable, but put something else on the same question that's not favorable, knowing that it's going to pass because people want the other item to pass. So we typically we separate items out. So instead of having 3 items on one question, you might have 3 questions.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's fair to do multiple questions and,
It depends who's sitting.
That's what the legislature does.
Yes, they do. I was just gonna say that. It's fair to them.
So Scott will be involved with that. And again, ultimately, the city commission decides what goes out for a referendum.
and with Scott's help, we determine how that language is on the ballot,
You're
right?
restricted to.
He doesn't?
Yeah.
He does.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you'll have a
I couldn't
conversation about
remember.
it, but you're restricted to, I don't know if it's 50
think it's
words or
50
70
words.
Yes,
words.
there's 70, yeah.
70 words.
I thought before we had worked with him at a meeting.
Yes, he'll do it, yeah.
For the
Yeah.
verbiage.
Yeah, so we'll have the opportunity to do that before it goes out and tweak it a little bit. Okay.
All right, so
Anything else on that?
I think we have consensus on that, right?
Yeah.
So we'll give everybody about a month to come up with a name, and, you know, if you get the names to me, we'll get it on that first meeting, I think it's February 8th.
And if you come up with a name, get to Joe sooner than later, because
Yeah.
2 of us may have the same person. And make sure you talk to them that they're willing to serve.
Yeah.
What's the top?
That's important.
What's something if we need to tell them, if they're at, well, what's this gonna consist of?
It's going to be up to the committee, so
Is it 2 or 3 meetings? Is it,
I would say half a dozen meetings over the next
And all-
6 months.
it all
Maybe
depends.
one a month.
maybe one that month?
The last time they had 2 in March and 3 in April. Depends on how many comments they got from the public, what they want to see changed. They can meet once a month for 3 or 4 months, or they can meet once a week for 3 or 4
Are
months.
they here?
Typically, they're here, we record it. Like I said, the staff is here to keep notes, Scott will be here to keep things, keep it in a legal perspective. So the meetings are really going to be up to them, how often they meet. They may decide, let's meet every other week initially to kind of get the ball rolling and have discussions. Then they may say, well, we're going to wait a month for the next meeting, give everybody time to decipher what they've done and think about
But
it.
they
So
should be
the first
wrapped
meeting,
up in
something
a.
Scott puts them all in a perspective of what's
The
gonna happen?
the first meeting, Scott kind of does an introduction and an instruction for them of what they can do,
Yeah, okay.
and what they should do.
It's usually wrapped up within a few months.
Yeah.
They won't have to serve for a real long period.
It's not a very large document. You know, the first 3 or 4 or 5 pages are the city boundaries. That takes up most of the charter. And then it gets into the role of the mayor, the commissioner, the city manager. There's a couple of other.
The most controversial topic that's gonna come up is fluoride.
Yeah.
Fluoride is in
Fluoride
there.
in the water is gonna be the most controversial question that board will be faced
Do
with.
we have a choice about that?
It's in our
No, the
charter.
state.
It's in our charter that
Okay.
city water.
It's in our charter, and I don't know how this works. If the governor, if the state comes out and orders fluoride out of everybody's water system, I don't know if that supersedes the charter.
I think they're looking for lowering the amount.
Ours is already.
Yeah, ours is
significantly
lower
less.
than the standards.
Yeah, so ours is already low to begin with,
But I can guarantee you it's gonna come up.
but one of the cities is voting on removing it completely. I don't remember which one.
I saw that too, I can't remember which one.
Well, you know, fluoride does come in other formats today than it did many years ago. You have fluoride treatments, you have ACT fluoride rinse, there's other ways of getting fluoride.
In sodas, in
But-
everything that has water processed is
Right.
fluoride, so.
The problem is we don't make baby formula with tap water anymore.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
children are the ones that suffer most with the establishment of their teeth. They
Right.
have problems. You know, some people that grew up in areas that didn't have fluoride have bigger
Yes.
problems than others. So, you know, my brother being in the dental industry is a strong proponent of fluoride.
Yeah.
Jim, whatever his name was.
Arnold.
Jim, Jim Arnold
One to
Yeah.
Donald?
Yeah.
is a strong opponent to fluoride.
All right.
Anything
So,
else on charge? So everybody's gonna try to get their names to me by the end of January, so we can get it on the February agenda?
Yes.
all right, let's talk about the YMCA.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on a second.
You're looking for the second meeting in February, correct?
I was hoping for the first meeting in February. If I get everybody's names by the end of January, I can get it on the February agenda.
Okay.
Now, if I don't have 5 names, we'll push it off, but I'm hoping to get it
Okay.
done. Yeah. Because they were done, the last time they were done by April. So I want to make sure there's enough time.
Gotcha.
All right, so the last item is the YMCA. Brian and I met with the executive director, Chris Silcom, and the operations manager, Katie. And we had a pretty good conversation, and the YMCA, they're not here because the only thing the Y is going to tell you is we will do whatever you want to do at your expense. So there's no use in having them here because that's just what they're going to tell you. So we had a good long conversation, and there was basically 2 approaches. One approach that the executive director brought up was if you want to increase the membership and increase the revenue in the YMCA, you should convert the basketball gymnasium into a workout facility like they have in Ormond Beach. And it would be more updated, more state-of-the-art. There'd be free weights, there'd be Nautilus type equipment, and you would increase your membership because people nearby will drive here rather than driving to Ormond or any other location. We don't have a workout gym in the city of Holly Hill. It doesn't exist. The closest thing we have to a gym is, what's his name down there?
Tasso.
It's Tasso. He has a personal one-on-one gym. So that was his answer to increasing participation and increasing revenue. When you talk to the operations manager, her perspective was Ormond's big enough and close enough for people to drive through. This facility should be focusing on programs that are designed around the youth in the community. You're not going to make money, you're not going to increase your membership, but you're going to provide a service to the children in the community. So that's kind of what I'm putting out to see what your perspective on it would be and what you want us to focus on.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I don't like the thought of the gym going away because they have a lot of basketball for the kids over there.
Now, Ormond is building a brand-new basketball court up there. So that may
But
take
we have a
some...
lot of kids that,
I'm not saying we should, I'm just letting you know that it is going to pull a little bit of both programs.
Ormond doesn't have one now. Last time I was up there, it did.
They turned the gym into a
How
workout.
long ago were you up there?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
The last-
Yeah, their gymnasium is now a very state-of-the-art workout facility.
Okay.
But across the parking lot, they're constructing a new basketball gymnasium.
and I know a lot of senior citizens kind of depend on a lot of those classes. So I would rather see us focus on the youth programs and senior programs over transforming that gymnasium into a workout center. That's just my opinion.
Right, and I'm there every Monday and Wednesday. And so my perspective is, I don't know, how long we had this agreement? 10, 12 years with them?
A long
It
time.
started when I was in Seminole County, so
So a while. But
it's well over 10 years, yeah.
So what's happened is, the relationship, in my opinion, has been more one-sided, where the city of Holly Hill is constantly giving
Yes.
to the request of the Y. And I was on their board of directors. When their pool was being refinished, they came down here and loved our facility and loved our pool, in spite of its shortcomings. Our pool is too short and too shallow to have competitive swimming. I wish I was on the commission when they made that decision, but anyhow, that's just how we live with. But they came down here and they enjoyed our facility until their pool was refinished, and then they left.
Right.
And so we provide services here that they, quite frankly, can't provide in Ormond. There's no gym for them to play basketball or volleyball or indoor pickleball anymore, so they do it down here. They need us more than we need them from an operational standpoint. But I agree with Commissioner Curry that we need to focus on the children in the community. Many of the kids that come here aren't our residents, but they're kids, and there's no place else for them to have these indoor sports. So I think it's a great move, but what has handcuffed this facility is that we have transformed it into a Y, into a building that was never intended for that purpose. The exercise rooms are old office spaces. That flooring was put down.
Right.
Walls were moved and walls were put up and built and torn down. And so if we want to maintain and be a little bit better than we are, I think we're gonna have to have some capital improvement over there, where there may need to be an addition to that building to put, they do chair yoga and they do a lot of silver sneakers things over there. But some of the spaces are limited because they can't do it in the gym. They have enough people to do it in the gym, but the kids are playing basketball in there, so they squeeze them into a side room. There's really no office for the executive director over there. That office is literally the size of that closet right there. It might even be smaller than that closet. So looking long-term, 5-10-year plan, I think we need to invest some capital over there in additional square footage. Also being prepared that in the next 5 years, Ormond Beach is gonna have a brand new gymnasium, and they're not gonna play basketball down here. Everyone goes to the new restaurant, right? We don't go to the old restaurant.
Right.
They're gonna go to the new gymnasium because their workout facility up there is all now computerized. You have a little card and you swipe this thing and it tells you to go to this machine and it's 150 pounds and you go to this machine and it sets it up. It's all digital stuff. And they're gonna have the state-of-the-art stuff up there. I think we also should put some demands that if we're gonna have programs here, we need to put standards on the programs.
Yes.
Holly Hill typically gets the hand-me-downs. If Ormond or Port Orange gets new spin bikes, the old ones come here. So we're fulfilling a need for them. They need us because they can't just cancel their youth basketball. Okay, that's a negotiating tool that we can use in the contract time because we're subsidizing them. We've been subsidizing them the same amount, if not more, since the beginning of the contract.
I think subsidies go both ways. We do subsidize them by paying $45,000 towards the
Right.
salary, but they subsidize us with some scholarships that they offer to the kids. They don't pay the state level YMCA.
Right, we don't pay,
membership.
right. But I think, I mean, as far as maintenance of some of the equipment and stuff, like, their responsibility for some of the infrastructure is so low, they wait till it hits that threshold where we have to put.
And that's accurate, and Steve and I have talked about that, and that was one of the changes that we had put in the proposed contract. Did I get that in there? I don't remember if I got it in there. Where we increased the threshold, so it's no longer $1,500, anything under $1,500, they fix, anything over
Right.
we fix. I think we gotta go back and look and see, I thought that I got that squeezed in.
I'm just saying that, like, the situation now, I agree, we need to focus on more kids programs there and more senior programs there. There's no bodybuilder people that are picking
Right.
weights up and putting them down, like they do in one. It's a great facility and they have pancake breakfasts over there for their memberships. Tara over there is fantastic. But I think no matter what we do, it's gonna change. And in the next 5 years when that gym opens, you're gonna have a huge sucking sound out of there because all those youth programs are gonna go up there. And if our kids don't drive to Ormond, we're gonna lose it. So kind of in a catch-22. We can't make a long-range plan over there to continue what we got because we know we're gonna lose a lot of those programs to the new gymnasium.
So your challenges are, well, a benefit to what we have over there is the impervious area of the racquetball court and the tennis court allows you to build and not worry so much about stormwater retention. Your challenge is parking. And parking already overflows. They park on that vacant land now, just north of the new fire station. So when they're busy, there's not enough parking. They don't like parking down at Sika Hall. It's too dark, it's too far. If we somehow can expand upon the tennis court area, we could open up parking in the rear of City Hall where they can just park there and walk into the building. It would be right there. So I'm looking at trying to put in place a long-range plan. This isn't going to happen in a year or two. The Ormond improvements didn't happen in 5 years. It took them many, many years to get done. So I don't want anybody to think that, oh, this change is coming, it's going to be done in a year. We need to look at everything from ECHO grants to any other state grants that we can possibly get our hands on to try to help fund that. And then we initially will need to start out with some architectural ideas on what can be done with the existing building and the area. If you remember back when the Martins were looking at it, they were considering a corridor down the north side of the building that would have things like treadmills looking out of glass windows, coming down to the basketball courts, wrapped around to the racquetball courts, where you would have your workout facilities there, freeing up the space inside the main building now for its offices and other non-workout Pilates, or I say jazzercise because that's what I remember. I don't think that's a thing.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
It used to be jazzercise.
Yeah, it's Zumba now.
So we need to, and I don't even think it's anything we can do this year because we don't have a budget, but it's something we would have to work on budgeting next year to start out with architectural drawings and then work toward.
Maybe this transitions into our goal setting sessions and long, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, it could, and that's kind of why I'm doing that now, is because depending upon what you tell me here is how we incorporate that into the goal-setting session. I don't want to come to a goal-setting session with an idea that we're going to try to do this, and then you're like, well, that's not anything we want to do. So this is kind of the start of.
Mayor, if you're looking for some kind of a consensus, I agree that we need to invest into the YMCA and that property for the benefit of our youth and the seniors of the community.
Yes, ma'am.
I go there for water aerobics and Zumba classes, and I use the little weight room there. And I just see that gym as busy. I mean, there are people in there all the time. And I think they're playing basketball, but in the corners, there's seniors doing the step-ups, the little square, because the room over there gets filled up too fast. So they go in there. But I also know that when I'm in the pool with 35 women, 3 men, and I talk about how great Holly Hills Y is, and here, most of them won't even admit that they come to Holly Hill to Y. I mean, they won't. So for us to think that our current facility is attracting anybody, it's only because it's either less expensive or
It's close.
Convenient.
it's closer. Yeah, so I believe it needs to be a capital plan to make this different. I think maybe the people there, the Y people, are looking for a gap stop by saying, let us create that gym into workout until Ormond Beach catches up and makes theirs.
They have their workout facility done. It's the basketball part.
I'm sorry, the
Yeah.
basketball.
Yeah, so they want it, like the mayor was alluding to, they want us to keep our basketball, volleyball gymnasium as long as possible because there's no alternative.
Okay, I was reversing it.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. All right.
Jeff, you had something?
What's going to happen to the fire station property?
The old fire station is going to be converted into a public works facility. If you remember the barn back on the baseball fields.
That's what's gonna,
The barn was taken down for Pictona, and we moved those folks over onto Commercial Drive.
Yeah.
We're renting a facility there, and we've got to get out of there. We've already gone
Gotcha.
past our rental spot. So in essence, the barn and some other stuff is going to go into the old fire station, and one of the bays, it's a double drive-through bay, one of the bays is going to become the law enforcement area for putting, like if they have a confiscated vehicle and it's got to be in a secure location, we can't keep putting in the back of Public Works, it's just not secure enough. So it'll be put inside, indoors, preserved, you have a vehicle that was involved in, a murder, and that's got evidence in there. So they'll have the entire side of the bays from door to door that they can put a vehicle in, and they can have other areas for
what
evidence
about the
protection.
property behind it? I mean, it's that,
To the west.
I'm just thinking you're saying we don't have enough parking over at the Y.
We can't do any more because we've maximized the amount of impervious area,
Gotcha.
and whatever is left is
I thought you were
retention.
gonna say that, yeah.
Yeah, so we really don't have any room, and in fact, only because the racquetball court and the tennis courts are already impervious, we can construct upon them without having to do much. And if we were gonna do any parking, the parking I would suggest would probably be on open, not paved, on open dirt land so that we maintain the pervious areas.
But is pavers, that's still considered pervious, isn't it?
It's debatable.
It's really impervious, because over time, the cracks fill, they harden, and it doesn't drain water.
Right. It's a loophole.
Yeah, I know it's a loophole.
Yes, it's good for about 3 to 5 years.
It's like millings. Is millings pervious or impervious?
After you pound them enough.
So Brian was in that meeting. Brian, you have anything you want to add, or?
No, I think that covers it. Keeping the programs is a good thing, and I think that looking for a plan to expand what we have and build new, I think it's a possibility over the existing impervious, but I think as you correctly stated, parking is gonna be an issue. I don't know where it's gonna go.
On a Saturday in basketball season,
Oh, yeah, it's bad.
Yes, yeah.
They're parking all over.
Which is a good problem to have,
Yeah, it
isn't
is a good problem.
you got 100 kids over there playing basketball. That's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Unless you just have them park on the road, like they do with the garlic and,
Yeah.
just person for himself.
Got anything else for us, Joe?
Yeah, yes. I just drew a blank. Give me a second.
What about tennis court area, I'm sorry, I know, how often, we have that across the street?
They get played on a lot.
Yeah.
We use the
people
tennis
use it a
evening.
lot.
In the evening at
In
night.
the evening, you
Yeah.
see.
Well, I know, I'm not saying I don't see people there. I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
used
do
to
use
go-
it at
I go there
night.
myself, haven't been there in a couple of years, but I used to go there.
Some of the homeschooled kids use
Yeah.
that for their PE time.
Is there any tennis at all across the street?
No.
Not-
No,
Haven't seen
no.
that.
No.
Yeah, no,
It's all courts for pickleball.
Yeah,
There's other recreational
for,
things over there, but not tennis.
yeah.
So, but that's the thing, if we want to expand that building over there to allow for more indoor space, the tennis courts would go away.
Yeah, so, yeah. I'd say,
But when you
what else
consider
do you have?
the amount of people that play tennis versus the amount of people that would use the facility, we would probably want to expand the facility.
Right.
There's other places they can go to play tennis, there's not other places nearby that they can go for these programs.
Well, especially the youth.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much around for them anymore that, unless they're paying at like these junk places or whatever.
Right.
Well, we have to be honest with ourselves that we are an aging community. So we need to embrace the youth, but prepare for the
Well, and that's
seniors.
why I mentioned both youth and seniors programs over there.
Joe, I had two things. I don't know if they were the same two things that we were supposed to talk about or if I dreamed about them.
I just wrote mine down, so it wouldn't be good again.
I had Citizen of the Year, Business of the Year.
Those are not on my list, those are on your list. So I did get another name in each of the Citizen and Business of the Year category. So we have at least two in each category. I mean, now's not a bad time to talk
Now's a
about
good time
it.
to discuss it because the public isn't here.
Yeah, so you can, if anybody has names, probably good to throw them out.
I threw out Copper Bottom Distillery. Amanda Weston, Florida, Great Florida
Right.
Insurance, because she's active with the farmer's market that weekend. She's there. She's great in the community for a lot of
She
things.
volunteers a
good.
lot in the
She's good.
She
community,
does,
actually.
yeah.
I didn't know she volunteered at the farmer's market
Yeah.
on the weekend.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
there almost every weekend.
She's
I
absolutely.
don't know why.
Yeah.
From the start, she's been there.
She gets free bananas there. Yeah.
Hey, whatever you gotta do.
Yeah, those were mine too. And the other one was the Sixth Street Market, because they donated all the meat to the night out, first night out.
National.
Okay.
Thank you, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either, yeah,
So that's great. I had two other recommendations.
okay.
Citizen of the Year, it might surprise you, but I think Jim Legary. Jim Legary, when I first got involved in politics, we weren't allowed to be friends because he was told things about me and I was told things about him, and we spoke to each other, but we never listened to each other. And Jim is almost at every one of our city commission meetings.
Yes.
You can love him or hate him, you can agree with him or disagree with him, but you'll always leave cordial with him. We've agreed, there's certain subjects that we don't agree on. We probably didn't vote for the same guy for president. But
I guarantee
we,
that.
but we have, I've sat in his back room, in his backyard, and cooked with him. He did our library at the YMCA.
Yes.
He's
And that's really
He's an
grown.
avid reader, and he's responsible for, the city provided the shelving and the YMCA provided the space, but he's responsible for the books.
Yeah.
And those books aren't checked out. Those books are, take a book, you need a book, bring it back if you want to. If you don't want to bring it back, use it as a doorstop. But he has thousands of books, and he replenishes them and does his best to keep up with it. So he's just been around for a long time, and I know it's great when someone does something fantastic, we recognize them. It's like, oh, that's fantastic, they did it. But I go back to Jim, and he's like that little drip that formed the Grand Canyon. You know, he's here. He hasn't done anything spectacular. The library's spectacular. He hasn't cured cancer or anything like that, but he's just here. He's here all the time. So he's 80 years old, and I think.
Is he?
Wow,
He's 80 years old.
I'm surprised.
Wow.
So I
He
think
doesn't have any gray hair.
Bill
I did not realize he was 80.
Bill Arthur told me long ago that if you want to recognize someone for doing something good, do it while they're alive. Don't do it at their funeral.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my recommendation, not to speak against Amanda because she's a fantastic person, but she's 40 years younger than him.
Sure.
And the business of the year I wanted to propose was Madden Enterprises. And it would be towards Jerry and Mark Madden from Ace Hardware. They own 3 Ace Hardwares here in town. They own 6 Ace Hardwares in North Carolina. But they are the first to get involved with any type of charity. At least 2 times a year, you have the opportunity to round up your pay to either go towards the Children's Miracle Network or this other thing. It's called Live Like Cameron, which was a young man in town that passed away, unfortunately, from cancer. But they raise money for American Cancer Society through that thing. They have thousands of dollars every year they pass through that. They're the first one, if you have a golf tournament and you need a Yeti cooler, they're the first one that you call them, they'll give it to you. They do a lot of this stuff like anonymously, they're not asking for the accolades, so I think it's kind of cool that to spotlight them out. And they're kind of at the end of their careers, they're transitioning to have their children take over that business, so I'm not sure how much longer they'll be owners of that company, so.
And you said 2 names.
Jerry and Mark Madden, their husband and wife. So the award would go to the name of their company is Madden Enterprises. And if you look at where their building is, everyone knows where the Ace Hardware is.
Yeah.
And the building to the south of that has this giant sign that says Madden Enterprises, and no one knows what goes on there. But that's all their corporate headquarters for their company. That's where they do all their accounting and.
I thought that was gonna be a lumberyard at once.
At one point,
I talked to him one time.
he wanted to do an addition and put a lumber yard there. He wanted to put a nursery there, and actually expand the building. But he didn't expand the building because then it became into like, now the whole building has to be sprinkled, it hits this threshold, and so he got more involved in North Carolina, and they actually have 3. Actually, one of their stores was in Swannanoa, North Carolina, which is the town that doesn't exist anymore after the floods.
Oh, wow.
They were in Ingalls, which is a big grocery store up there. The Ingalls grocery store, shopping center was demolished. They lost over $1 million in their inventory, which no one has flood insurance in North Carolina. So it was devastating for them, but they do a lot of good things. Like Christmas time, they're always looking to adopt a family and do this and that. So I don't think we can go wrong with any of those people, but those were my recommendations, so. It will come to it, we'll have to vote for it at a meeting. It's probably best to fight it out here behind the scenes than to fight it out in public to embarrass them. Because we always have, it's great that we have several candidates.
I think it's wonderful.
It's fantastic, but I really don't want to discuss it too much at the city commission meeting because then you make someone feel bad. You know, so.
Absolutely.
Not really
You
competition.
know, I believe the reasons you have chosen those 2 group, people and business, are great reasons. I would support that.
And just let me say, your selections that you mentioned are outstanding as well.
Thank you.
But I can agree with those 2 selections, John.
Yeah, I know them.
You got him on deliver, did you?
As friends, but I've known them for years.
And speaking of Copper Bottom, I don't know if you guys know, but there's this Discovery Channel, the Master Distillers. It's a
Yeah.
competition. Jeremy went on that show 6
Did
months
he?
ago. It was recorded 6 months ago. And the show will be aired February 4th.
Okay.
There'll be a party at their place,
Yeah.
and the winner will be divulged to.
Oh, so they don't know yet.
No, they,
They know.
it's confidential.
But they
Yeah,
don't know.
they do not.
It's confidential, so that's a big thing, so.
What is the date on that?
February 4th.
All right, so we're going to go with your 2 recommendations?
If
Mary?
Commissioner Snow is deferring.
I am deferring to you. Yes.
Hi,
Don't forget those names for next year.
because we're here from 4
Can you
o'clock,
get
and we
them?
won't get out till 8 o'clock, I ordered pizza from Sorrento's.
We just wanted to see him, right? Yeah.
Well,
Just an excuse.
We missed your face.
depends if you brought cannolis.
Oh, yeah.
Before we adjourn, I have one other question. In February, I was planning to do a goal setting session. And I've facilitated the goal setting sessions in the past. Many years ago, we've done goal setting sessions where we hired a facilitator. We used Marilyn Crotty from UCF, although she's now retired. In the way past, we used Roy Schleicher and Senta Gowdy. Roy used to be a county council member, and then he had a consulting firm. There were years when we used to go over to the Hilton or a place over on the beach side, and we actually had a formal sit-down dinner as we facilitated a goal-setting session. Those days are long gone. I think pizza is the best we're going to get. So I would like to, if you agree, I would like to try to bring in a facilitator. And here's my point. I'm not going to be here in 5 years, all right? I want to put the place in order so that there's a path forward. And I want to start that now. So I can facilitate this, but I don't want to be the guy that says, that's a dumb idea, we shouldn't do that. Or I don't want to steer you in a direction that's my agenda. And sometimes bringing in a third party to facilitate that gets me off the hook for being the bad guy to some and the good guy to others. And it allows somebody else to really hear what you have to say and where you envision the place going. Some of you are like me, are not going to be here in 5 years. Roy would raise his hand as well. And others of you may be here and may be in higher roles. So I don't want to let the time go by where I don't put something in place. And I just think I'm obligated to do that at this point.
Mayor, if I may, I agree with that.
That I won't be here in 5 years.
I agree with that too.
I don't agree with that.
I'm thinking
They
better.
might not, but I'm not gonna be here, so.
Tuesday.
2, 3.
But as I've said for the last 2 years, I wasn't running for reelection in '26. I will have completed 14 and retired from public service, so 34 years will be plenty of public service in my life. My husband's retiring at the same time, and we're gonna do some pleasant traveling. But I would like to also set the city up for continued success. Because I'm still gonna be living here, just like I am now, and I just want to see the city continue to succeed. So I can agree with you.
So there are a lot of projects at hand. Millions of dollars of items going on in the Public Works Department. There's millions of dollars going on throughout the city. We've probably brought in more money in the last 2 or 3 years for projects than we've ever had, I think, in the history of my time here. And I just think that is the best thing to do, is to put the city on course, because the people I've worked with have had this vision that I've known about, but it really isn't documented. It really isn't, you know, if I fell off the earth tomorrow, you know, Brian may step up to the plate, but he doesn't know what I know, and I think we need to put a path on paper, so that somebody has some guidance moving forward. If there's one thing you've learned about me over the years, is I don't think, ask my wife, I don't think day to day, I think out years. And that's what I'm trying to do, is think out years, so that it's favorable to whoever the commission is here at the time.
I agree.
You know, I wish I'd remembered this earlier today. Maryland Karate did it for us. I'm wondering if Karen Allen could do it.
She probably could, I could reach out
I
to
just
her.
texted her and asked her if she's ever done it, but
Yeah.
She would be a good choice.
Other people use Herb Marlowe. Herb's been around for a long time. Marilyn's retired. I don't even know if Roy and Senta are alive, but I don't know if I'd want to go back to them. But there are other facilitators. But Karen might be a good one.
she might be a good one. I mean, she has knowledge of this area and
Yeah.
community and stuff.
And typically what I would say the process would be, now I looked at one city that did an 8-hour goal setting session. That's too long.
Oh my God, there's no way.
We bring pizza twice.
There is no
Too
way.
many goals.
What I would suggest is that a facilitator would meet with each of the commissioners one-on-one, get your perspective on things, meet with the staff, and then set up a goal-setting session where we do the old-fashioned, you know, we write down the goals on a list, and we use these little colored sticky dots, and we narrow it down to what the priorities are, and then we put it on paper. And then,
And they usually do is SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses. Okay, cool.
yeah. All right, so we agree we
Yes.
should try to bring in a third party?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I had. You don't have anything else?
Anybody else have anything that we need to talk about, or you got a half an hour, you can enjoy your pizza
All right.
and
So we'll go ahead and
recharge.
adjourn the meeting.
Go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Hey.
I'm just gonna turn this off.
All right.
Yeah, this says
I'm worried
connectivity